But first, my take as the daughter of a veteran who fought under the Australian flag. According to Adam Bandt and the Greens, if you are in favour of reconciliation and true equality for our Indigenous community, then you must show your utter distaste for our national flag. What we saw this week wasn't reconciliation. It was the complete opposite. It was division. Refusing to stand in front of the Australian national flag, not subtly, but as a fully fledged attention-seeking stunt.
You chose not to stand in front of the Australian flag. Why is that?
Well, I think we've got a lot of work to do in this country to tell the truth. It's time to understand that the history of this country and the symbols that represent the history of this country are very hurtful to the First Nations people of this country.
That flag is, by the way, a flag thousands of men and women, including Indigenous Australians and immigrants, have fought and died for in countless battles around the globe. You would have seen the images this week as veterans expressed their disgust at what had occurred and pointed out the symbolism and the significance of the flag Bandt considered not worthy of sharing his stage. The journey of coffins draped in the Southern Cross, the same flag they stood proudly beside for their pre-deployment photo, an image every soldier knows will be used if they die. Caskets on the way home to families who knew when they farewelled their loved ones that this was a possibility, but proceeded nonetheless, knowing that serving our nation also entails a willingness to sacrifice your life. Let me remind you of just some of the heroes who might have featured in the footage flashing across your screen this week. Brave souls who fought and died under our Australian flag. Jason Marks, 27 years old, a Lance Corporal in the 4th Battalion, killed by the Taliban in 2008. Matthew Hopkins, just 21, a Corporal in the 7th Battalion, killed whilst mentoring local soldiers in 2009. Cameron Stewart Baird, 32 years old, a Corporal from the 2nd Commando Regiment, shot dead in 2013, awarded the Medal for Gallantry and the Victoria Cross. His actions saved the lives of many of his fellow soldiers. All of them left behind broken-hearted loved ones who will never recover. And what about Harry Thorpe, an Indigenous Victorian who enlisted in the 7th Battalion in 1916? Lost his life in France during the First World War, fought in Pozières, where the Australian flag still flies to this day. In a speech by Dr. Brendan Nelson, now chair of the Australian War Memorial, titled "We Are All Australians Now," he pays tribute to this brave digger, awarded the Military Medal for Bravery. He left behind a wife and child who put this quote in the Melbourne Argus on the 10th of September 1918. "They laid our hero down to rest in the flag with the Southern Cross, and we mourn him as one of the best, for his death was Australia's loss. Your loving wife and son." It's not hard to understand the anger, in fact rage, of veterans and their families this week. For an elected official to pull such a disrespectful stunt is unforgivable. And that's not an exaggeration, not even a little bit. This stuff matters. If it doesn't, then what's the point? What do we stand for as a country? What do we believe in? It's okay to feel like the Australian flag isn't for you. It's okay to want it to change. It's even okay to dislike it intensely and to express that. It's okay to feel like it doesn't represent you. But for someone who accepts a salary from the very institution that sent these young men to war, to so publicly and blatantly disrespect our veterans and then ignore their hurt is disgraceful. By the way, Adam Bandt has form in this space. He doesn't seem to think too highly of our military personnel, the very people, through their sacrifices, allow him to live a free and prosperous life. In 2018, he accused my dad, one of this country's most distinguished veterans, of being a war criminal, with no proof, evidence or allegations other than the simple fact he was a high-ranking officer whose country deployed him to Iraq. An Aussie soldier doing his duty, and Bandt accused him of the same thing that Vladimir Putin is being accused of right now. It doesn't get much lower. Bandt apologised, of course. His slur was completely untrue and unfounded. I'd like to think he realised he'd crossed the line, but most likely the threat of legal action forced his hand. Bandt leads a political party that doesn't even believe enough in the Defence Force to have a spokesperson for it. Instead, they boast a representative for, and get this, peace, disarmament and demilitarisation. I mean, what kind of la-la land do these people live in? There would not be an Australian alive who wouldn't wish for there not to be the need for a military, but that is not the world we live in. And so long as there exists a need for men and women of this country to be willing to give their lives in service and protection of it, respecting the flag under which they serve should be the bare minimum standard for all who enjoy the freedom their sacrifices provide. Adam Bandt might not like it, but by all objective measures, Australia is a seriously impressive first world country. Not perfect, of course, but democratic, free, prosperous. We, of course, must do more to close the gap. It's a national scandal how blighted some remote Indigenous communities are. After years of disadvantage and often community disinterest, Indigenous issues are only now starting to receive the national spotlight and focus they richly deserve. There's still a long way to go, we know that. As a nation, we're on a constant journey of discovering and coming to terms with our identity, past and present. And it's not unforeseeable that, as this journey continues, our flag will also evolve. The Union Jack, for example, will be an increasing focus as the Republican debate heats up. However, in having this national discussion, we must take as many people as possible on the journey. And again, we can do that without disrespecting a large section of our community who cherish the national flag and are willing to give their lives for us.